Attention, attention, all personnel. Incoming podcast. This is MASH Matters.
Welcome to MASH Matters, the podcast celebrating the greatest television series of all time. My name is Ryan Patrick, and his name is Jeff Maxwell. Hello, Jeff.
His name is Jeff Maxwell, and so is mine. By golly.
Everybody, all of y'all are Jeff Maxwell.
Maxwell, the whole gaggle of them. What is it? A murder of crows? So it's a murder of Jeff Maxwell's.
Well, that sounds like an Igor Stravinsky mystery right there, which is the new Netflix series we're trying to pitch, you know.
Yeah. So if you Netflix executives out there want to do a really, really good limited series, call us up. We're ready to go.
It's like Murder, She Wrote with bad food.
Exactly.
Huh? Hey, how you doing?
Hey, I'm okay. You know, I don't know what's going on around the country in this, you know, people listen to podcasts at different times, but you and I just talked about it. It's hot in California.
It's hot in Illinois, too.
It's hot everywhere. What the heck is that all about? That global warming? Nah, that's ridiculous.
It's summer. I mean,
it is summer.
I guess we shouldn't be surprised that it's hot in the summer.
Yeah, and summer does bring the heat.
It does.
Yes.
Historically, yes. Now, I don't know what it's like for our friends around the globe. You know, we have a lot of international listeners, and so there are different climates and different seasons and different hemispheres and all that.
Right.
Where you are right now may not be hot, but where we are right now, it is. It's very, very hot.
Very hot. So in Australia, I don't think it's hot there. I think it's cold, or they're skiing in Australian outback or something. Is there an Australian outback? But we know there's spiders. There's an outback, and they're bad spiders.
I didn't know that it snowed and you skied in the outback, but I guess it's possible. I don't know. Our Australian listeners will let us know. I know they will.
Yes, and don't send us any spiders because they're bad ones, I know.
Hey, we've got some fun stuff to talk about today and some fun audio clips. But first, we're going to just pay a little tribute to somebody from the MASH family who we lost recently, and that would be Donald Sutherland.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much his passing would affect me, but it really did. I was really kind of taken aback when I heard the news that Donald Sutherland, who, as many of you know, played Hawkeye Pierce in the original Robert Altman film, MASH, that went on to spawn the TV series. Man, he was such a freaking good actor.
And so different. I mean, some of the roles were so different that, like, you know, we had the Dirty Dozen versus Clute versus Animal House. You know, it just goes on. And I mean,
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Yeah. You know. He was such a wonderful actor, such a high quality guy. I didn't meet him, but at the time they were shooting MASH, I was a casting director at 20th Century Fox.
Right.
And I used to have to go to different locations and stuff. And so I went out to the ranch once when they were there. And I didn't meet him, but I saw him and he was walking around doing stuff. So I didn't go, "Hey, Donald, come over and sit and chat a while." I didn't do that. I wish I had now, but I didn't. But, you know, he was such a great actor. And he and Elliot Gould created such a pair. You know, my gosh, what a wonderful combination they were.
This week, they ran a quick interview with Elliot Gould in the LA Times, and here's a quote from it. He's talking about Robert Altman here when he says, "Once he cast me to play opposite Donald, he asked me to have lunch alone with Donald at the commissary at 20th Century Fox. I went there, and I just sat down with Donald, and my first feeling was, oh, I don't think this guy likes me." And of course, we got to be so close and made amazing chemistry together as two utterly opposite human beings. I've never worked with better. He's my brother. What a tribute from Elliot Gould.
Yeah. They made such beautiful music together.
They did. And then I was digging around and found this. This is a little video I found on Facebook. I'll play the audio. But this is Donald Sutherland talking about why MASH worked so well.
Intellectually, it projected the feelings of an awful lot of people about an awful lot of things. It showed the concept of war without showing war. In other words, in MASH, war is like that. It's a solid circular thing which is volatile and has a lot of activity. But the picture, the film that we made, surrounded that. You didn't see any of that. All you saw was what was thrown off from this volatile mass. You got the debris. And when you are abstracted from a situation, any emotional situation, if you sit and you watch two people argue, the people involved in the argument are very involved in the argument and believe it. But when you sit away from it and watch them, it is totally absurd to watch two people fighting. And when you are in a field station like we were in, It is insane to watch human bodies come flying into a camp which are wrecked for no reason at all. And so that kind of insanity created an environment, a kind of mini society that was in chaos. And this, to a lot of people, represents the kind of society that we have today. And because it was funny, and if you can't be funny, you're in a lot of trouble.
Wow. I'm going to have to think about that one for a while. My goodness gracious.
I mean, he really did sum it up in a nutshell
Boy,
of what MASH is
wow.
and why it was so impactful as a film. And he was foretelling how impactful it was going to be as a TV show.
Yeah, boy, that was amazing. I've never heard that before. That was very impressive.
Yeah.
My goodness.
I'll put a link to that video in the show notes if anybody wants to watch it.
I just realized that he was also in the Kentucky Fried Movie, which I was in. Really, he was.
So you were co-stars.
We were co-stars, yes. I got chills just thinking about that.
Wow.
Or that might be the air conditioning. I'm not sure.
Well, rest in peace, Donald Sutherland.
Well, we have a few emails to talk about, and one is,
it wouldn't be an episode of MASH Matters unless we had listeners telling us how wrong we were. As if we don't know already.
Oh, I can't wait for somebody to ask us a question because that's going to be exciting. So Benjamin starts off by saying, I wanted to start off by saying, which I actually already said. But anyway, Benjamin says, I wanted to start off by saying that I recently came across your podcast. Thank you. And I'm doing my best to catch up. I enjoy listening to all your episodes, and hearing Jeff's unique perspective from some behind-the-scenes tidbits are great. Well, thank you. I'm currently listening to episode 125, and I agree with the listener who said that the tag from the episode The Young and the Restless, where Potter tricks Klinger into revealing he does know he's in the Army, is great. Okay, here comes the thing about Jeff. So, I do want to point out, however, that you mentioned you didn't understand how Hogan's Heroes was greenlit since it takes place in a concentration camp. That, for some reason, is a misunderstanding. The show takes place in a German POW camp, prisoner of war camp. While in real life, a POW camp might not have been the best place, I'm sure how one can see that this is much better than a concentration camp. Thank you for all the work you put into the podcast, and I look forward to more. Thank you, Benjamin, for pointing out my stupidity.
Benjamin's not the only one. Mike also says, hi, Jeff and Ryan. Captain Mike Bacon, proud to be one of your Patreons here. In your most recent episode, you were talking about how MASH got more dramatic in the later seasons. Hogan's Heroes was brought up, and you mused about how that show even got greenlit. In the series The Offer, about the making of The Godfather, Albert S. Ruddy is pitching a show idea to Charlie Bloodhorn in episode 1. Bloodhorn isn't impressed and said, what else have you got? And Ruddy pitches Hogan's Heroes. At first, Bloodhorn, who was born in Austria, is incensed. You think Nazis are funny? When Ruddy explains that the Nazis will be portrayed as inept, Bloodhorn changed his mind and greenlit the series. Just wanted to clear that up for you. Keep up the great work on the podcast. Here's looking up your old address.
Well,
and then,
ladies and gentlemen, there's Alexander, who says, you make references to Hogan's Heroes and how difficult it is to understand how this show is given the green light. 2 points that come to mind. Given the times, it is still early enough that it works in a cathartic manner for those that still have fresh memories of having served in war, since it very simply portrays the Germans as being both dumb, and any attempt at being evil is always immediately foiled by their own stupidity. That's 1. 2, the actors that both portrayed Colonel Klink and Sergeant Schultz have been on record saying that the condition of taking the roles were that the Nazis would always be portrayed as inept and the wrong end of the stick when it comes to being tricked and fouled. Also, is it not time for the annual 15-episode miniseries named Radar Soda Investigation Extravaganza? All right, Alexander. Well, I think we've learned our lesson here.
Yes. Yes, I understand there is a huge difference between POW camp and concentration camp. And if one of us or both of us said it, we didn't think about it.
I said it. I was the one. I said it. I raised my hand to tell the truth. I said concentration camp. I remember saying that. And I thought at the time, I don't think that's right. But I just didn't correct myself. So I correct myself now. It was a POW camp. But like the gentleman points out, that wasn't a piece of cake either.
No.
POW camp.
You don't vacation at the POW camp.
No.
That was a rough place too. And even though it's a POW camp, I'm still firm in my belief that somebody was high when they greenlit Hogan's Heroes. Or blackmailed. One of the two. They were being blackmailed or they were under the influence when they greenlit that.
Well, let me go back to that. Where was that he quoted about how it was greenlit? Let's see, in the series, The Offer.
Yeah, okay. Which I watched, and I should have remembered that.
I did too.
Yeah.
It was very good. I really liked it.
Miles Teller.
Oh, it was great.
Miniseries, yeah.
Even if you say, oh gosh, Nazis are going to be portrayed as inept, we're still talking about pretty sensitive stuff. And
for a comedy series.
They did, and it stuck around. So what do we know?
Sure did. Yeah. And here we are talking about them still 60 years later. And Alexander, I do need to address your comment about the 15-episode miniseries, the Radar Soda Investigation Extravaganza. I am not going to give any credence to that because right now we have deemed this podcast a no knee-high zone. So we're not going to talk about knee-high anytime in the near future. Mm-hmm. Although I fear now that I've said the word knee-high that it's going to spur more knee-high conversation among our listeners.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah, you opened the door there. I saw you do that.
Moving on from Eric White, our friend, the MASH historian. He sent us a photo of the Bug Out script, and he wanted us to know that, Jeff, you were correct.
Ding, 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 ding.
They read the line about Salkowitz as it was written in the script, and it's right there. We'll put a picture of this script page in the show notes for this episode 126 at mashmatters.com. Thank you to Eric, the MASH historian, for putting that to rest. It was not improvised, it was written.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So I have gone from being wrong about concentration camps to right about Salkowitz, and I feel redemption is here.
Now, let's move into another topic from the last episode. I believe it was the last episode where we talked about tags, the little scenes at the end of each episode and people's favorite tags.
And Steve from the UK says, my favorite tag has to be at the end of the Yalu Brick Road when Klinger trades a load of rotten salmonella-ridden turkeys. The last scene when he phones the guy who supplied them, then adds to the camp's laundry load is a classic. Wonderful reaction from Jamie and great editing. Late addition to the collective noun survey for MASH fans, bullet listeners. Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about that also later on in this episode.
All right. Can't wait.
Grant says, hey guys, you provide such an important service to this show. Thank you. You cover MASH matters because MASH matters. I'm a big fan of what I always called the closing funny. Some of the best moments of the series are in those last few seconds. He says there's one ending I would have loved to see different. In The Light That Failed, Season 6, Episode 6, I think it would have been amazing for BJ, the practical joker, to receive a letter from Peg, and when he opened it, there was the last page of The Rooster Crowed at Midnight, showing us that BJ wasn't the only joker in the family.
Oh,
that's good.
Very clever.
Yeah.
And Dominic writes from Germany. Greetings from Germany, he says. I've been meaning to write in for a while now, and thanks to the last episode, I finally have a reason to. In the last episode, Do MASH Fans Have a Name? There was a question regarding the best end tags. My first thought was the one from Promotion Commotion, where Igor chucks mashed potatoes at Hawkeye and BJ because he didn't get promoted. So you can imagine my surprise when Jeff said that he didn't like any of them because he wasn't in any of them. Not only is it one of my favorite Igor scenes, but a still from that scene is the cover of the cookbook.
Yeah.
You idiot. I'm sorry. He didn't write that. I just said that. And thanks to the power of hyperfixation, I then also found out he is in the end tag of Adam's ribs as well. Always love the podcast. The last episode might honestly be one of my favorites. Well, Dominic from Germany, thank you for pointing out what an idiot I am. It's always a pleasure to learn that. This episode of MASH Matters is pretty much how big an idiot is Jeff Maxwell?
I think we found the title for the episode. It's great.
Right. And thank you for pointing those things out. You're right. I didn't remember that. Hey, it was 50 years ago. And it just kind of escaped my brain that I was in those tags. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to go watch them. And I'm just going to go look at my cookbook and go, oh, yeah, that one. Yeah.
I knew if we put it out there that somebody would find something.
Yes.
Listeners, they're sharp. They know.
Thank you, Dominic.
Yes.
All the way from Germany. Thank you very much.
All right. This is a fun one. Brady. He says, I've been working my way through Taxi, and I just saw a very funny scene involving Jim Ignatowski, played by Christopher Lloyd, where he wrote a script for MASH that was rejected. The premise is pure Iggy. It's episode 14 of season 5, titled Alex's Old Buddy. It's the opening scene. I included a link, but I'm going to play the audio from this scene because it is so good.
From the Kenderson Literary Agency. Dear Mr. Ignatowski, although your submission was one of the most interesting we've read, unfortunately it does not suit our needs at this time. Therefore, we're returning your MASH script herewith.
Oh, you wrote a script for MASH?
I gave birth to a script for MASH. A great script.
Well, Jim, what was it about?
A simple story. I'm surprised they haven't done it. Hawkeye has to perform surgery on Colonel Potter. All the while being disrupted by shelling from the North Koreans and a Zaxalonian starship.
Wait. Are you talking about aliens from another planet, Jim?
The Zaxalonians! Their bodies are the size of a grape. And here's where the switch comes in. The queen of the Zaxalonians, disguised as an earring, falls in love with Klinger.
Well, how does it end?
Comedy, tragedy, and a statement against war. And a pie fight.
What a funny show. What a funny guy.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I
Wow.
love that. I love that. You need to go and watch the scene. We put the link in the show notes for this episode, and you need to go watch the scene because even though you've heard it, just for Christopher Lloyd's facial expressions as he's telling the story is worth it. It's so good.
He's a treasure.
He is.
He is a treasure.
You know, it's interesting too. That was an era where you didn't have a lot of cooperation between the networks. So for an ABC show to talk about a CBS show,
Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
that's interesting.
Mhm. Interesting concept. Yeah, I wonder how they got that one. Well, the same guy that greenlit Hogan's Heroes probably greenlit that idea.
And also was under the influence or being blackmailed. One of the two.
And Rob says, Ryan, Jeff, I came across an episode of Chips called Biorhythms, 1979, season 2, episode 19, where Jeff appears as an intoxicated driver who drives his car off a cliff. Does Jeff have any memories of his brief appearance to share on the podcast? I will attach the clip from the episode.
Thank you, Rob, for sending this. I had not seen it. I knew that you were in Chips. I had not been able to track down the episode. So Rob sends us this clip that he recorded off of his TV. We will put that in our show notes as well, so you can go and watch it because it is 90 seconds or whatever of the best TV I've watched in a long time.
Oh, you got to get a life, my friend. That's you're watching the wrong shows.
Can you explain what happens in this scene, Jeff?
Yes.
And
Well,
then break down your artistic choices behind your performance in said scene.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, apparently, I was the two Chips officers were called and to investigate this driver who was driving poorly on the freeway or something, and so they're chasing him to run him down and get him off the freeway, and he's driving all over the place, and he's just kind of kooky in the car, driving like a goofball. And he apparently just drives right off of a cliff and crashes down into the dirt off the cliff. I guess the two patrolmen, ride down there, and one of them calls out, "Is he okay?" And then they cut to me, and I do what I do. So I don't want to describe what I do. Please go watch it, and you'll understand it from there.
Yeah.
But yes, there was a lot. It took me a couple of weeks to get into that part and to get into the end result. I mean, that was a very dramatic moment where I had to relive a lot of things in my past life.
Sure, yeah.
And bring it to the fore, as they say.
Yeah. Well, you're a method actor, so I'm curious, how many cars in total did you have to drive off a cliff to really know how it felt?
18.
Oh.
There were 18 different cars.
Wow.
But
the commitment to your craft is really amazing.
Thank you. And I think if you watch that clip, I think you'll understand my commitment or whether I should be. Either one is acceptable to me.
It's a delight. It is so much fun. So when we record, I can hear you, you can hear me. You watched the clip while I was listening to you. I enjoyed listening to you responding to the clip before we started recording.
Okay, I'll tell you what I said. "Oh, he was so cute." And, "Oh, look at that hair. His hair looks great." It was fun to do. I did 2 chips. I don't remember what happened in the second one, but I think I had more. And one of the MASH directors, I believe, directed that episode. It was either Charlie Dubin or there's another gentleman whose name I can't remember right now.
And I guess we do need to point out, it wasn't you actually in the car when it goes over the cliff and crashes.
Oh, no, it was. I demanded that it be me.
Goodness, you are such a great devoted actor.
And I think actually there was more to my scene in that show, but I can't remember now.
And you didn't get an Emmy for that.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Hoping.
The Lifetime Achievement Award is coming. That will be in the montage that they play at the ceremony. Speaking of videos that feature Jeff Maxwell, you sent me this, Jeff. And I can't wait to talk about this too.
Oh.
This is an interview that you did, and I'm going to guess it's around 98, somewhere 99, somewhere in there, because the book had just come out. The cookbook had just come out. But this is an interview that you did with a gentleman named Skip E. Lowe. Mm-hmm. And so I watched this.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect when I started watching it. And honestly, after I've watched it, I still don't know exactly what it is that I watched. Can you tell us about this interview and the guy who was interviewing you?
Can we go back to the concentration camp problem? Because I want to POW.
No, this is too good. And we will be putting the link to this in the show notes so everybody can experience this as well. But what can you tell us about Mr. Skip E. Lowe?
And by the way, I'm not making light of concentration camps or POW. No. I just, we're having some fun here. So
right,
that's fun.
Exactly.
Skip E. Lowe was a gentleman. He was a performer, a comedian. He did USO tours, I think. He was just sort of a general kind of fun performing guy. Mm-hmm. And the details of his life, I really don't know. I'm sorry to say. I believe actually a gentleman in Los Angeles, however, has done a documentary about Skip E. Lowe. And I was interviewed for that documentary. I have not seen the documentary as yet, so I don't know, but it sometimes takes a long time to get documentaries up and running or to be seen by the public. So someday we all may learn a lot more about Skip E. Lowe than we want to know or should know. He was a nice man. You can look at the clip. Fine character. He had a great personality, and he interviewed me. I was very grateful to have him interview me. The book had just come out. I wanted everybody to know about the book, and he was a very nice guy. My hair looked really good, and I thought my goatee looked really good.
Yes.
So those things pleased me.
Was this broadcast in Los Angeles? Where was this shown?
In my living room. I showed it to people there. I believe it was on a cable channel.
Okay.
Back then you could have the Skippy Lowe cable channel or whatever. Now it would be YouTube. to.
Right.
But then it was on a cable. Everybody had their own little TV show or something. If they could
like
get to
local
that
access TV.
Yeah, local access. I'm gonna have to look at it again too. I just saw it and I sent it to you, but I haven't watched the whole thing.
It's wild because, first of all, the way it's shot. So it's kind of a sepia, black and white kind of a thing. And the shots are incredibly close up. I feel like the cameraman was like 6 inches from your face. It was so close. And it's unvarnished and unfiltered. I mean, at one point he like has a coughing fit in the middle of the interview. But I read a little bit about him.
Yeah.
And Skippy Lowe inspired Martin Short when he was creating the character Jiminy Glick.
Oh, didn't know that.
When I heard that, I went back and rewatched the interview, and you totally hear some of the same vocal mannerisms. And some of the questions just seem to come out of left field. And there's one I want to play here. This might be my favorite moment from the interview.
You were a comedian at the beginning of your career. You were a team. Why don't you would you like to do a one-man show and do your act as your life on stage? Wouldn't it be kind of interesting? You coming out in your guitar, like you did when you first went to Vietnam or to the Far East, and with your guitar, and just from stage to stage, talk about Gary Maxwell, what happened to him, like your book. Take it from there, right on stage.
Not a bad idea.
A one-man show.
Maybe I'll think about it.
Those one-man shows are very, very big right
They're
now.
big, yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't have to pay anybody.
Do you work the Comedy Store at all?
Well, there you go.
So, Gary Maxwell.
Yeah. Gary
when is this one-man show going to hit the road?
I don't know. I'm working on it. I'm in the first act now, and I got to work on the second act.
Oh my gosh, so good!
Yeah, it was good. He was a sweet guy. He really was.
I'm sure he was.
And you can hear he's very sincere. He really wanted to try and bring stuff out. And though he called, I think Garrett and Maxwell, he got confused. And
I
called
think
him
so
Gary.
too. Yes,
I think that
yes.
was what it was. But
yeah.
He was a very genuine, kind fella. I don't know anything about him now. I hope he's around, but I don't.
He passed away in 2014.
Did he? Okay. Thank you, Skippy.
All right. So every now and then I go onto YouTube and just search for MASH stuff and see if there's anything new. This actually isn't new. It's been on YouTube for 5 years. Somehow it's stayed on there this long. It is the finale of the series, but with many of the original commercials. It's a broadcast that was recorded on VHS tape, and then, of course, VHS transferred to digital. You can see what it was like to watch the show live when the finale aired in 1983. It just gives you an idea. So if you weren't here, or if you want to go back and relive what it was like to watch that, you can watch it. Now, I'm going to say that it's not great. The quality is subpar. Sometimes the commercials are cut off halfway through, and you can see somebody was trying to do some creative editing with the commercials, but it is worth just checking out. And we'll put the link to that in the show notes. But my favorite thing about this video is right at the end of the show. On the full-length video, it's actually cut off a bit at the beginning. So I went and actually found another video of this PSA. CBS used to do this thing called Read More About It in conjunction with the Library of Congress. And after certain series or certain movies, they would have a celebrity say, if you want to read more about this subject, here are some books that you can read. In this case, immediately following the finale, Larry Gelbart filmed a PSA about MASH.
Wow.
You can watch it at the link in the show notes, but it took me back because I had completely forgotten about these Read More About It PSAs, and seeing it and seeing Larry Gelbart standing in front of the swamp and doing this PSA is delightful. So here is the audio from that PSA.
I developed MASH for television and wrote a great many of its scripts. If you would like to read more about MASH, the Library of Congress suggests these books: MASH by Richard Hooker, MASH, The First 5 Years by Jay Klaus, and MASH, the exclusive inside story of TV's most popular show by David Rees. These and many other good books are available in your local library and bookstore. Visit them. They'll be happy to help you read more about it.
Gagne and Lacey will return next Monday night at 10, 9 Central and Mountain, over most of these stations.
My goodness, he was very assertive, wasn't he?
He was.
Visit them. Read more about it. And that's an order. Wow.
And then we learned that you preempted Cagney and Lacey until the following week.
There you go.
Learned so much I learned so much.
You learned so much on MASH Matter. By the way, I'd like to quickly go back to the Salkowitz issue.
Yes.
Here's the deal. Thank you. I did know that nobody would have organically come up with that name, that it had to be in the script.
Mm-hmm.
But I still have not researched completely whether or not there was some turmoil involving the actors or producers and the Cy Salkowitz, president of 20th Century Fox, which we're going to get to the bottom of. I am going to research it and find out if there was some underlying hidden meaning of that name. All right? So that's my promise.
Okay.
I'm also going to research the pillow issue as to what that pillow meant. What it was at Colorado. What was the thing? I can't remember.
Sunrise, Colorado.
Sunrise, Colorado. I'm going to get directly from Loretta Swit exactly what that pillow meant, if anything.
Our friend Andrea, by the way, sent us a photo that she took of Edwina, the episode Edwina, where that pillow appears.
Oh.
When we were talking about it in the last episode, I believe the listener said it was an orange pillow, but in the shot in Edwina, it looks gray.
Oh.
I don't know how you could confuse orange for gray, or if there were two different versions of this pillow. I don't know, but we'll put that photo also in the show notes for this episode if you want.
Okay, yeah. I want to send that to Loretta.
Okay,
and say,
I will
here,
make sure you get that. Yep.
Great. And the last thing I'd like to clear up is that the Chips episode could have been directed either by Charlie Dubin or Hy Averback. Those are both MASH guys, and they were very nice people. And that was a fun thing to do. It was shot, I think, in Simi Valley or something. There was a freeway being built, and they just blocked it all off, and you couldn't drive up there. So they used that as a set. Whenever they needed to do something with motorcycles and cars, they used that 400 feet of unused freeway, and it was kind of fun to do. But yeah.
All right, to close, we discussed in the last episode about MASH fan names. And we read a long list of 62 possible names for MASH fans that listeners submitted via social media. And we appreciate everybody who submitted these names. So Jeff and I went through the list and we picked some of our favorites from the list, and we whittled 62 down to 10. Jeff, what do you say? Should we put this out to a vote now? Should we release this to the masses and let people vote on their favorites?
I guess so. I mean, either that or we pick the best one. I don't know, but
well, we could at least get it down to like a top 5 and then go from there. Let's weed out some of the ones that people like the least.
I like it.
I'm going to say this is not necessarily a democracy. We will have our final say of what we like about these names if we want to make sure that we truly feel like it embodies the fandom.
Yes.
So without further ado, here are the top 10 that we have chosen for MASH fan names in no particular order. Mashaholics.
The Creamed Weenies.
Mashketeers.
Ferret Facers.
Swampies.
Slide on the Icers.
Gin Swillers.
Mashers.
Swamp Rats.
And Mashedonians.
There you go, folks. That's our top 10.
Boy.
I guess we'll put this out on our social media. So follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter/X, Twix, and you can vote, and we'll get this down to like a top 5, and then maybe we'll whittle it down to a top 3, and then we'll finally crown a winner at some point.
And I'm not going to say what my favorite, the Creamed Weenies thing would be. I wouldn't say that. I'm not going to say that.
I would never in a million years say that Macedonians is my favorite. I would never want to sway anybody to vote for something that they didn't like themselves.
We are not influencers.
No.
We are not influencers.
No.
Like some of those girls are.
But you can be an influencer when you're wearing your MASH Matters merch. And hey, guess what? We're introducing some new designs in our store. So go check out the new designs in our store, t-shirts and mugs and whatnot. Go to mashmatters.com and then click on the store link, and it'll take you right to the MASH Matters store where you can see our new swag.
And if you buy a whatnot, we will both sign them.
Right now, buy one whatnot, get the second whatnot free.
Or at least at a discount.
Yes.
Free, I don't know.
Whatnots cost a lot of money. We can't just give these things away. That's true.
And you have to catch them first. Sedate them and everything.
I like the dark meat. I don't know about you.
It's good. Crispy skin whatnots. It's great.
So good.
Yummy. By golly.
All right. We're done.
We're done?
We are so done.
Okay. Well, it's been fun to be done.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. You can reach out to us, mashmatterspodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. You can listen on your favorite podcast player. You can also listen to episodes and watch other fun videos like Jeff driving off a cliff at our YouTube channel.
The rehearsal for that was horrible, I got to say. That was rough.
I'm glad you survived.
Thank you.
Until next time, here's looking up your old address.